Estelle, and now we have a short class, a little bit bigger movement, something that you can do after you've been sewing, working on your projects for a while, and maybe you've noticed some things are kind of a little bit grumpy and you want to get in just a little bit of movement before you go into the rest of your day or your evening or wherever you're going. So oftentimes, sometimes like when we've worked on something and we're holding a little bit of tension, it can be hard to just drop right into really specific movement. So we're just going to start by kind of bopping around and being really curious about where tension is being held. So that can just kind of look like bouncing and just really letting your shoulders go and letting even that movement, that bounce movement, trickle all the way through the fingers. Now, this might be a little funny or a little different, and that's okay. Maybe you'll like this, maybe you won't. But we are going to spend a little bit of time here just being really curious. So you can bounce here for a bit. You can maybe take stuff into your shoulders. Just kind of move and explore, seeing if you notice anything. You might have some tension that's really loud. Maybe in this process you start to notice that there's something holding on that wasn't quite sending as loud signals. You can drop your head from side to side. Maybe you just take this bounce into a little bit of a sway. Engage your shoulders. I mean, this is a little bit of intuitive movement, so it doesn't really matter what you're doing, how fast you're moving, how slow you're moving, what I'm doing, as long as you're just taking a moment to get into your body and letting it move. Okay, and if you really are enjoying this and feel like you need more time here, you can always pause the video and work with this more. Okay, once you feel like we've got a little bit of movement happening, let's go ahead and maybe focus our movement and tap into our breath. And let's start by checking in with our feet. So just find a comfortable stance for your feet and make sure the backs of your knees are soft. Lengthen up through the crown of your head, and maybe you just let your hands, palms facing out, rest beside you. Just noticing, still noticing, always noticing what you're feeling sensation-wise in your body. When you're ready, let's take this into some movement. So inhale, let's take our arms up above our head nice and slow. Exhale, just bring those hands down. We'll do this maybe 5 times. Just inhaling, exhaling to bring the hands down towards the hips. Now this can be fast if you've got a lot of energy. It can be slow. As you move, as you lift your arms, notice what's happening from this hip bone right here all the way up into our armpit. So we want to lengthen out in yoga what we call our side bodies. Maybe by the 5th or 6th repetition of this, you start to feel a little different or notice something a little different than maybe you would have if you had just done 1 or 2. Okay, let's add on to this movement. So our arms are up above our head. Let's just drop the left arm forward and the right arm back. Do a big circle sweep with the arm and lift both arms back up to the ceiling. Maybe 4 or 5 more repetitions of just this movement. Inhaling to lift the arms above the head. Exhale, open the hands away from each other. Now keep this in the shoulders. So we don't want that to happen where we just let our belly button kind of track back, but we're trying to keep this in the shoulder blade, kind of like we did in the warm-up video. Okay, let's do the second side. I like to feel my hands pulling away from each other. Sweeping up, exhaling, bringing the hands back. Now notice what your shoulders are doing as you continue to move through this shape. Don't let them kind of ride up and stay here, but we also don't want to be dragging them down. So kind of just from that bobbing around that we did to start, you're just finding a comfortable place for your shoulders to lie, letting them move up and down as they wish. So you're not stopping or shuttering any movement here. Okay, inhale the arms up. Let's tip over to the right side just for a moment. Same thing here. Keep both sides of our bodies nice and long. So we don't want to necessarily dump to feel a big stretch here. It will be more beneficial to lift up and out with the idea that we're trying to keep as much length from our hip bone to our armpit as the other side. Inhale, come back up to center. Exhale, tip over to the right. Hold this for a couple breaths, reaching out through the fingertips. Inhale, maybe now we move faster. Exhale. Inhale, come up. Exhale. One more each side. Okay, bring the hands back down beside you. Working now into the feet and hips. You've probably just been using your hands and arms, but sometimes we might have been holding some tension in our hips, maybe if you were sitting, or in your toes or your feet, not kind of thinking about it if you're trying to work on something really finicky or really delicate. So let's just lift one foot off the mat, a little bit of balance here. If you'd like, you can hold onto a wall or a chair. And just begin by rolling the ankle in circles, moving in both directions. You can also do this laying down on the floor. Okay, from here, you can take some circles with the knee, opening the knee out, and then working in both directions, closing the knee. I like to move in and out, changing directions quite frequently. Maybe you would like to work one direction and then the other, or something else. Your choice. Okay, once you've got a little bit of sensation, a little bit of something happening in this hip joint area, we can switch to the second side. So take a moment just to plant that foot into the mat if you noticed your balance was a little shaky, and then lift the knee up, just roll the ankle. Both directions. Slow, fast, your choice. Okay, when you're ready, you can work your way into some sort of knee rotations, working into the hips. Both directions. You can kind of play and explore, or you can just be really structured about it and do 5 one direction and 5 the other direction. And if you fall out of it and want to keep going, just take a moment to reset, and then lift the leg one more time. Okay, one more standing shape here on our mats. We're gonna take a big forward fold. And if that feels a little bit shaky in your body, you can also hold on to a chair or a tabletop, as long as you're just hinging forward from your hips. So for here, let's actually take our stance a little bit wider. We're gonna take our arms up above our head, and I like to kind of make a starfish with my hands and not bring them close together, but open them out, just so I can feel the expansiveness of my body instead of like trying to hunch down over, trying to create the opposite of that. Make your body as large as possible. And then from here, I'm just going to sweep from one side, then the other, in big circular motions. Now, this doesn't have to be any one thing. Follow the intuitive movement that your body might be giving you. So maybe you want to like bend your knees and kind of hang here for a moment. Maybe you don't want to go down as far. Your choice. The idea here is just that we're starting to work into the low back and the hips just a little bit more, the hamstrings if we've been sitting for a while. So make this really personal to you. Maybe even really finding a deliciousness and an easiness about this sort of movement. So we'll stay here for another moment. And then when you're ready, just slowly work your way back up to standing.